Well, there's the snack. The snack attack is back, Jack and Zack. It's another episode of the Going Over podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, it's your neighborhood friendly coach, trainer, and promoter, 44-year-old professional wrestler, Zack Primetime Reeb, and I'm joined alongside the Wrecking Ball, Paul Isadora, all 7 feet of them, and let's try it out this time. All 7 feet of tall, pow, wow.
That's it, man. It's a rhyming theme today, I guess.
It's pow, wow, baby. Go and get your grill. Get your grill. It's pow, wow, baby. Get your grill.
Oh, shit. Yeah,
you know,
trying to sneak one in, bud. Getting off work before basketball practice. We gotta try to weasel one in.
Did you see the I could have swore the All-Star game this year was America versus the world.
Right, yeah.
They didn't do the actual All-Star game, or was it just that the other team?
I think they just replaced it with that, I guess. I didn't watch it, but
wow. Well, the American sealed the deal.
Right. You just think about like how far international basketball has come. If that is even a remote possibility that you could do something like that, you know, have American players versus overseas players. You know, like I was actually having a conversation when I was about playing overseas, and it's like, oh, how was that? And it's like, well, when I was there, we were dominating the Olympics, and it was something where they would be like, oh, well, we'll just give the ball to the American because obviously he's going to be able to score at will, right? Nobody can stop the American, so we'll just give it to him. And I was like, well, I didn't have that skill set, man. I was a role player, man. I was a 4.5 points, 4.5 rebound guy in college, you know, not a huge stat stuffer.
What was your free throw percentage?
It was like in the mid-70s.
Almost there. I forgot who I was watching the other day, but they said, have you watched that ABA Soul Power?
Oh.
Okay, it's the history of the ABA, right, against the NBA. And I forgot who it was. I think it was Julius Erving, Dr. J, because he played most of his career in the ABA. And he was saying that if your free throw percentage isn't around 80% or more, like around that, like you shouldn't be playing basketball. He said, you're literally just got to make one. Like he said something like if you take 10 shots, you literally only got to make like, I forgot what the number was, but it was like, it sounded very doable. You know what I mean? Where the 3-point line, that came in the ABA. They invented that in the ABA.
Right.
We were allowed to slam dunk. The ABA also were to compete with the NBA, were able to draft players before they got out of college. And then once the NBA took a couple of their players, Rick Barry, who signed with them and was the big signing at first and actually took a year off. But Lou Alcindor, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, we were talking to him. The guy that ran the ABA, actually, they were going to hand him a check for $1 million because Lou Alcindor said, hey, one deal, you both got a chance to do your best offer, and he didn't show that check in the meeting, and he signed with the NBA. But Dr. J, man, Julius Erving, the guy played for the Harlem Globetrotters, and they banned him in the NBA, and they brought him back, and then he went to the NBA. And also the ABA was the first one to do kids out of high school. So like the speed of the game and the 3-point line and all these crazy things were actually invented in the NBA, which the Indiana Pacers, the New York Nets, the San Antonio Spurs, I believe Denver Nuggets, those teams were in the ABA and came over with them. But Dr. J, Julius Erving, man. So we'll get off that subject. I wanted to point out that I'm wearing the Homewood hat where I used to work, in the Homewood shirt, and You know, this morning was kind of fitting for me, right? I went in there and I was talking to my dad, and my dad said, "Hey, man, I'm proud of you." He's like, "You changed your whole life around, and you're actually, for the last almost 2 years, even though you're making way less physical money than you were before when you were working for 13 years at this company, last 25 years," he said, "you've paid all your bills, you've ran all these shows, you've done all of this on less money, and you haven't gone to a physical job in almost 2 years." And I remember when I first, and I remember talking to you too, but I remember when I first said, "Hey, I'm gonna just bank on this wrestling and the training, and I'm gonna give it a shot." And everybody, including my dad, he was the one. He said, "Man, you're making a mistake." And everybody else, I didn't have one person really, and maybe a couple, maybe my sponsor or a couple other people, but everyone pretty much told me, "You're making a huge mistake here. Don't do this." And I went with my gut, and here I am today, sitting here doing a podcast with you, and I get to wake up and I get to do really cool stuff, man. So it was, to me, today was kind of a big day with the big show coming up, and there's just so much wrestling coming up, Paul. So much wrestling is along the way. How are your vibes about all this?
Oh man, I think I would say hopefully I can be included in the people that did not tell you that it was a bad idea, because I don't think I ever told you that. I don't think I had a negative thing to say about trying to do wrestling as a career, because I think it's commendable to I don't know, just you've ran a company for 26 years. You know what's going on. You know how to run these shows. You know how to draw. You have all these great attributes of a good business person. Obviously, when you put down alcohol and have your priorities in order, it is much easier to focus on what you're doing and be able to put all the effort into it, because you don't have any distractions. So, kudos to you for doing that, man. It's obviously just being able to follow you through this journey along with sobriety is awesome to see, man. It's it's I don't know. It's hard to say to another man, "I'm proud of you," but I definitely am, man. I'm proud of what you're doing. You're I don't know. It's something that people can go, "Hey, it can be done if you put your all into it." It's like you say you're not going to a physical job, but the way that you run your business is exactly what a physical job is. You have your schedule that you're going to go out and promote, right? That's the work that you're putting in. You're going out and you're promoting, and then you have your 2 times a week that you're in class, running your business of your training school. So, you say you're not going to a physical job, and this fits exactly into what my dad used to tell me all the time, which was, when you do something you love, you'll never work a day in your life, right?
Yep.
You're working, but because you're doing something that you love, it never feels like work, So, so as much as you want to say you're not doing a physical job, you are 100% doing a physical job with promoting and training and doing all those things. You just have so much more flexibility, because it's not, I have to plunge in at this time and I go home at this time. It's, I'm putting my schedules together myself, and I'm going to go out there and I'm going to do the things that I need to do in order to have a profitable business.
Yeah, that's the thing, is like, like all the time I spend on the phone talking to people. I was thinking about that the other day, and it's all like positive stuff, like moving forward, right? Like I get to sit around and talk about future and potential characters and storylines and development, and that it doesn't feel like work. And that's the crazy part, is I was still doing that when I was working, but I'm under the rule of the hierarchy, you know what I mean? The on the government time here, and there's not enough time to put into it. And that's what I would tell anybody, man. You know, whether you like me, you don't like me, I annoy the shit out of you. My message is, if you want to do something, you got to go for it, man. You really do got to go for it. Because like, if this doesn't pan out, let's go back and get another job. Failing is not the option. You know, we're all gonna fail a bunch of times, but I'm not gonna just like, oh, this didn't work out, so now I'm gonna be homeless and I'm never gonna go work again. If this doesn't pan out when it, you know, by the time it needs to, I'm gonna go get a job. Hopefully it's a part-time job. Hopefully, which I believe 100%, I won't ever have to clock in at a job again, because I can do this, and I put myself in a winning position in life. And someone asked me the other day, they said, hey man, what's your best advice on how can I do what you're doing? And I said, I wouldn't do it the way I did it. I wouldn't tell any one person in this world to ever do it the way I did it. Okay. First off. And I used to think it was because, like, man, it's crazy that what you turned down so young in your career where you were at to do this. You made that choice, and that was your choice. But then I thought, don't ever try to pattern after somebody else, because you're not that person. I don't know what's in your brain. You don't know what's in my brain. Our visions of what we want are completely different. We're just lucky enough when we find other positive, motivated people that actually have a semblance of a vision that we both can see. Like I see the vision you have for your company, and then I have this vision for my company. And I think a lot of these guys, there's that think word again, but you know, and talking to Ugly and talking to Ollie and talking to other promoters, everybody has their own vision of where they're going. So we could sit here and say, hey, you're wrong. This is how you do it. No, do it this way. We can advise and throw some ideas at people. But at the end of the day, Samurai is going to go to work at Applebee's because that works around the schedule of his vision and what he's doing. They have their own vision. SPW has their own vision. PCW, RWF, everybody has their own vision. All you can do is support and sit back and hope that everybody finds that the right way they're going. And if they don't let that detour the goal in mind, because we get to that point where that criticize and critique what we're doing. Hey man, go buy a ring. Go get a building, start running your own. That's it. You can critique me all day long. Go do it then.
That's exactly right, man. It's so many. You hear it from so many people, right? That, and obviously in my town here, there has been so many companies that have popped up, you know, ran a few shows, and then gone away. You know, it's like it's happened for the past 16 years. You know, we opened up our school, we started running shows, and it's just been a nonstop thing for the last 16 years for us. And it's like, you know, everyone, and I don't know if the factor is that someone wants to book the show themselves, someone wants to be in charge rather than answering to someone else. If that's what it is, or if it's, you know, I don't know. I think you just have those people that want to say, hey, I have a wrestling promotion or whatever. I run wrestling shows. I have a wrestling company. They want to be able to say that, but they don't have what it takes, or won't go to the lengths to make it successful. You know, they won't go out there and promote it. They won't, you know, walk into a business and try to sell them sponsorships. You know, all these things that you look at and you go, I want to be a pro wrestler, but you know, you can't go in and tell someone about your vision about this is what I'm trying to accomplish with this company. Like I was just talking to someone last night about sponsoring a show, and like, hey, this is my vision for it, man. Like I would like to get you involved, another local company. Hey, I'd like to help you out and you help me out, type of thing, right? Small business helping small business type of mentality. But you have people that are not willing to do that. You don't want to go out and go, hey, a lot of times it's afraid to ask for money, right? It's like, I believe that this product is worth, investing your money into. I believe coming to a show, you're going to get your money's worth. Like I believe wholeheartedly in those things. And if you can't convey that to someone that you're speaking to, it's not gonna work, man. Like you talk about how you're gonna walk into a place and go, hey, having a local wrestling show. Here's some flyers. Would you mind if I put them on your counter? My telephone number's on there. If you guys need any tickets, like, it's full service, right? I'm going to come here and I'm going to put these on your counter. When the show's over, I'm going to come grab them. But in reality, yeah, I'm going to swap them out, and I'm going to put the ones for the next show on the counter in the place, right? And so I don't know. It's something that I do at my job. So it's a little more simplistic for me to be like, hey, I'm going to keep this advertising space for my product right here, So regardless, if I'm taking something down, I'm just going to put it right back. Yeah, exactly. There's the toolkit right there.
Well, it's like there were 2,500 of these, right? I mean, I could probably count these up, maybe 8, 10 of them left. There's not a poster left. The online sales, like there was like 300 general admission tickets, and I'm looking at them now. Like, out of all the general admission tickets, that little stack is what's left is the promoter, which will be gone at the door or more, because it is nonstop. I know I'm doing good work now because I'm coming back around after a show is over, and I'm asking the business if I can take that poster down so I can put my new one up. They're like, oh, another one already. And like, it's not sitting there long enough for them to have to look at it or pull it down or get tired of it. It's like, oh, can I cycle out and switch? And the businesses are seeing that. And people know me now. Like, the towns are supporting me now in all these towns because they know me and it's local business and they see me so much that now they're starting to go, this guy's nonstop. And then they start to ask the story. I get to tell the story. I get to tell the recovery story and where I was and where I'm at now and what I did and why I'm putting up so many of these posters over and over and over again. And it's just, it's a good story, man. And one thing I wanted to talk about today, like that everything we've talked about is great. Like, I love that me and you are 20 minutes in and we've actually talked about a bunch of shit except for some shit. You know what I mean? Like, that was good stuff we were saying, but I had this thought the other day and I was having this almost a conversation with myself. And I started thinking about the difference between a pro wrestling star and a star, right? Like, I was just thinking about that, and I was like, man, I mean, you look at it and you go, Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels, just in that sense, they were big pro wrestling stars, man. They were big, they were big in the pro wrestling industry. And then you look at like John Cena, The Rock, Roman Reigns, Ric Flair, Macho Man Randy Savage, Hulk Hogan. You look at some of these guys, and just that difference, right? Because we always talk about it, is, okay, I'm looking at somebody and I'm going, okay, this guy's got a good look, a good physique, or he worked his way up into a good physique. And I'm like, this guy could probably end up making some good money and going some places in pro wrestling. And then you see the guys that you look at and you go, oh, dude, that guy's a star, right? And especially in pro wrestling, you talk about a Roman Reigns, The Rock, a John Cena. You talk about some of these guys that you can just look at them and go, that's a star. And then on top of that, the other quality is they actually put, excuse me, put in the work and can actually go in the ring. And I really started thinking about how rare it is that you find a star, someone with some star power where you're like, man, this guy could do TV sitcoms. He could do movies, commercials. People know who he is in public. They see him walking and they know he's somebody. But then he also went through the independent wrestling, and he's a good worker. You know what I mean? He's a good worker. So just the difference between star power in like life and star power in professional wrestling, man. Because I really started thinking about that to myself the other day. I was looking at like, when you saw Brian Cage back in the day, even before his body metamorphed into what it is today, you looked at that guy and you said, there's something there. You know what I mean? When I first met AJ Kirsch, I was like, there's a quality in that guy right there. There's something there in that guy that people will come out to watch this individual. You know, I gave Phil some flyers today, and he was going to the AEW show, and he came by with the motliest of motley crews. You know what I mean? Like guys' night out in Sacramento, and these four strange individuals were in this car. And one of them looked out like that, and I looked at all four guys, and I was like, suck it. You know what I mean? Send you on your way. But I said, make sure you give Jalen those flyers to pass out when you get down. Oh, Jalen Love, make sure you get him those flyers, because 6'7", young, tall, good-looking guy. Let's transfer those over and have him do the promoting down there, because he looks like a star. You know what I mean? And that's the representation you want for the company. It's like I told you, who's the guy you guys got? Ralph. Ralph goes out there and works hard. When the old DN, when old Joey was going out there, they had their own practices and stuff. But I always told you, I said, you're 7 feet tall. It's your promotion, When you're walking around and you walk into a business and hand them a wrestling flyer, they go, okay, this might be real, right? Like this might not be a jokey wrestling thing or some hokey stuff, because look at this grown man with a beard who's taller than 99% of the whole population in this town. So it was just something I was thinking about, like the difference between like star power and not, because when Ugly came to training on Sunday, had a great time, but he looked around and he saw Shaq and Jalen and Bad News and your old tag team partner, Big Eric, and a few other guys. And he was like, man, you got some big dudes in here. You know what I mean? And that's what did he notice? At first, he's not noticing like what's going on, like physically with the rest. He looks around and he goes, man, there's some big guys in this building, bigger than independent wrestling guys would normally produce out. And that's something I've been lucky with, man. I guess I don't see size much, because you and Sin and Bad News and all these guys I got now, I'm just used to being around guys that are twice my size and stature.
That's it, man. Well, and I think I told you, like, to me, I've been the same size, as far as height, since I was 22 years old or whatever, when I stopped growing. And so it's just this, it just feels normal. Somebody else was telling me that the other day. It's like, you realize how much bigger you are than most people? And I say, well, unless I look at a photo, generally I don't realize how much bigger I am than everyone else, right? Unless I'm in a photo with somebody, or if somebody literally points it out to you, like, hey, the top of my head is at your chin or whatever. It's something that I don't really notice, right? I notice when people are close to as tall as me, and I look at them and go, "Wow, that's a tall guy right there." But besides that, it's so normal, and and it's happened for several years when people go, "Man, I just like walking around with you because I like the looks that people give you." People are just in awe. That they've never seen someone your size or whatever. So it tends to get a lot of attention. But I've told you in the past, it's like, how do you deal with that attention, right? Some kid today says, "Hey, do you mind if I ask you how tall you are?" And I said, "No, go right ahead." And he paused for a second. He's like, "How tall are you?" So it's just, I don't know. It's just those things, man. And sometimes they just click in your head. It's like, yeah, I don't mind. Go ahead and ask. You can ask away.
You know what I thought the comparison was to that for a very tall guy is like when you even if you see like a girl with a big ass, you're like, "Oh, that's a big ass." But when you see big breasted women, it's always been the thing for years where you're like, "What size bra do you wear? What size are your tits?" You know what I mean? It's like very common in the exact same realm of that. You know what I'm saying?
I had an older guy that I worked with. He's like, "Hey, when you've seen one set of tits, you want to see them all.
You want to see every single pair of them." That's we're getting to this point right here in professional wrestling, man, and not the tits point or the tall point. We're not tall tits or tits are tall, but we're getting to this point now where as I look in and I'm hearing it, I'm reading everything. I'm so just, what's the word? My hand is on the pulse, right? Like my hand is on the pulse. And I was looking at some AEW, and they just brought over the Tommaso Ciampa guy, right? And he came in, and he didn't even come in on their flagship show. He came in on Collision, and he debuts like 2 days out of his WWE contract, and he beats Mark Briscoe for the TNT or whatever fucking title it was, right? There's the first F-bomb of the show. And I think it was even the wrong station title that he won the belt on. I don't even think it was on that station. And then he ends up losing he ends up losing the belt a week later to Kyle Fletcher. So Kyle Fletcher can take the belt to Australia to defend it against Mark Briscoe. And I'm sitting here going, why did they even put the belt on this guy, right? Like he's 1-1. He's had 2 matches coming from WWE, Big Pop. He's 1-1, and the 1-1 in his 2 matches are he won a belt and he's lost the belt. And and I'm sitting here listening to this, just breaking everything down. Which, if Kyle Fletcher ended up wrestling Mark Briscoe in a ladder match in Australia, which he beat him, why didn't Kyle Fletcher, because it would have been their 6th match, why didn't Kyle Fletcher just beat Mark Briscoe for the belt to even the series up at 3-3, and they could have had the 7th game of the series in fucking Australia, and he could have walked in the champion, or he could have won the belt in Australia of his hometown to become the champion and won the series. And I'm like, did this guy really need to win this belt to go to Australia as the champion? Or would it have been better for him to win the belt going into Australia as the champion? And what was Tony Khan's thinking here? Was he like, well, anybody can win on any given day? And I was listening to a couple guys, they should just keep switching the belt every week the same way. Just keep running a circle and seeing if the fucking fans pick it up. And I feel like, right, like on a topic like this, I feel like if I'm going to my hometown, right, if I'm going to my hometown, I would 100%, not even 99.99, I wouldn't want to walk into my hometown as the champion and defend the title. I would want to go into my hometown as the challenger and win the belt in my hometown or my home country. I'm completely confused in my mind. Screw all the other booking. I don't know who the baby faces are. I don't know who it switches so much during the match. Like, all right, I'm gonna baby you up, and I'm gonna baby you up, and you're gonna sell for me, and then I'm gonna baby you up, and you're gonna sell for me, and nobody's healing. There's no healing, right? And these are some topics that were bothering me. So I want to ask you, brother. And if there's anybody else out there that wants to comment on this so we can start getting some interactive while it's happening or running or afterwards. Now, me 100%, if I have the option, if a company is giving me the option and we're doing it smart, why in the fuck would I mean, if I'm walking into my home country as the champion and I got to defend the title there and I'm going to take it home, whatever. But if I have the opportunity to walk into my home country or hometown, locally, local wrestling as the challenger and win a major championship in my hometown, I would 100% think that the fans and myself, it's going to be a much more memorable experience that they got to witness their hometown hero win the belt in their hometown and not win it somewhere else so he could come into his hometown to be the champion just to defend it. Just no thought for me whatsoever in anything that's fucking going on. Like, nothing makes sense. I don't know if you agree with me or not, but what do you think of that exact scenario I'm talking about?
Well, I agree with you 100% as far as, winning the belt in front of your home fans. I always think that, like, as far as, basketball adage wise, you have that home court advantage, right? And it's, it's not that you're going to play better or whatever. It's the people around you that are cheering for you and encouraging you and things like that. They talk about, the sixth man or the 13th man or whatever, depending on what sport it is, that those fans play that role, right? They're in that role and they're the encouragement, and they're gonna get behind you and get your adrenaline flowing and things like that. And it takes me back to like especially like on a senior night or something like that for college, right? It's going to be the last game that you play in front of these home fans, and the adrenaline that you get because of that atmosphere, I think is it kind of puts you over the top. And a lot of times, you're able to get victories in a situation where maybe you're outmatched a little bit, but because of the hometown fans, you're able to kind of you get that adrenaline and you get a little bit of a boost. So I think that's a perfect scenario for pro wrestling. Is you come in as the underdog because you're not the champion. You're having to fight and take the championship away from someone else, and in front of your home fans. I think that's a perfect way to do it. But I don't know, man. I think in a lot of senses, you think like maybe that's too predictable. So maybe that's why they did it that way, But and I've always thought, like, if you're basing things off of realistic things, you think about like a UFC thing. It's like if you have two equally matched guys, realistically, either one could win. So doing the round robin thing with the belt, and somebody beats someone and then they get beat, and all these different things realistically could make sense, because if you have a bunch of people that are equally matched, then it just depends on the night, right? Who was on their game that night, because they're so equally matched. And I think that's definitely a story that you could tell. I mean, you're talking about, you're tied at 3, and who's going to win the rubber match here to get the match number 7, who's going to win. It's definitely that you think about it in all types of sports where they've got some sort of tournament style, whether it's World Series or NBA Finals or anything like that, where you have some sort of opportunity where, you know, it's a series of contests to get to the ultimate victor. So, I mean, I think it could work either way.
It clearly it can work either way because they just did it this way, but it makes no absolute sense to me. And the thing that makes no sense to me is like, guys, I was talking to Vince DeMarco, right? He just had the surgery on his knee that he got removed from his asshole crack because he was keistering. He's in a new line of work now, and it's like, hey, in prison, you guys need a new kneecap? Okay, hold. Let me lodge one up my asshole, and I'll keister it and balloon it into the prison system past the guards. But I was talking to him, and we were talking about back in the day, he had a real beef with Roland and Gabe and Jason, and like it was a tense, you know, there were some tense moments. And I told him today, I said, you know what, when we look back on that, even though they didn't like you guys didn't like each other, did you notice they always booked you? Did you notice that even though they didn't like you, you were on every show? And not just the fact that you're on every show, you're working with Derek Sanders, you were working with Kafu and me and Scotty and who, you know, whoever. You were working with all the top guys because Vince DeMarco was a great worker who got good heat, right? Like he was a good heel, and they knew he could go out there and get heat and build the baby face and get the baby face over. And when the match was over, they loved the baby face even more. And then DeMarco would go to the back, and then he would come back out the next show and work Jekyll's the Jester or Dylan Drake or somebody. He was what we call in the business, and I always love it. Like I try to steer clear of the words that I know and the verbiage, but he was a good hand, right? He was a good hand. And I just look at all the wrestling that's going on nowadays, and there's a lot of good hands, man. But they don't use the good hands the way you're supposed to use them. It's like, man, Sergio's a good hand. Brandon Nash is a good hand. And I'm talking about these are good little heel hands that can bump. And I'm sitting here in a situation when I look at some talent around there. Of my understanding, if you want to go out there and do a bunch of spots and take a bunch of bumps, I got a bunch of guys in my locker room that we'll just bump you out. You know what I mean? We'll bump you out and get these guys over, and you can make them look great, and then you can go on your way to wrestle somewhere else. Because I've been looking at this from a different perspective, and I'm like, they're like every weekend, right? Like we got to be out there wrestling every weekend, and I'm looking at it now, going, you know, it takes you a while to get some experience, whatever, but are you gaining the experience you need? You know, I was talking to Spark today, and I'm like, is it just a wrestling match, or are these guys, you know, are these guys learning something? Are they learning how to build a program? Are they learning, you got all this talent coming in to your company. Why aren't you doing something, even if it's a little something, so that these guys have something to talk about on a microphone? You know what I mean? Build somebody up. Give somebody some wins, man. You're going to see it here pretty soon in my company. I've been giving this guy a string of wins and this guy a string of wins, and now these two guys that have been getting a good run of 4 or 5 victories are about to face each other, and the implications of getting a shot at a championship are on the line. And that's really where this story starts is, okay, I'm winning. Now we run into each other. Who's going to win? Oh, I won. Oh, well, I didn't win. So now I'm not really happy that you won and I didn't win. And now we have just a simple conflict right here that we can talk about. So being a good hand, especially if you're a good hand, is so that you can enhance and get somebody over so that the company can build some talent so they can try to do something with that guy.
Absolutely. I saw something recently about, booking veterans versus more green guys, right? And the comparison was kind of, what is this person going to do for your show advertising wise, right? Are they going to be sharing your poster on social media? Are they going to be taking your poster places and hanging it up and things like that? And they were talking about, this person is a veteran and they charge more to wrestle versus someone who is a little new to the business and they charge less. And why would I use the guy that's been around longer? And there was also, they factored in like, this person's, working out and training to be a pro wrestler several times a week. And so I guess kind of get your thoughts on that. When you're looking to book someone, I think about people that have been around for a while that maybe aren't necessarily going to be sharing all of your information about your show. They're working on your show. They're going to bring the kind of what you were just talking about. They're going to bring an opportunity to help someone else who they're in the ring with get better, right? Or are you getting quality matches, right? Are you working with someone who could help you get better? Or, in this scenario, it almost leads to, if you're using guys that are less experienced and they're charging less money, but they're training, they're going to the gym and they're putting up posters and they're sharing all your information. I think that there's positives on both sides, right? Obviously, it's great to have somebody who is in the ring training several times a week. They're going to the gym, doing a great job. They are helping you promote your show, and it's going to cost you less money. But I also think that there is positives to someone who's more experienced. They're not training as often, and maybe that's just as a result of you're just not getting into, you're not in a training environment or whatever. You're not going to the gym as much. You've got other things going on, but you bring that veteran mindset and things like that to the show, and you're going to be working against somebody who needs a little boost and needs some help in that aspect, but maybe they charge a little bit more money. Like what's the balancing? How do you balance those guys on your card?
Well, it's called a favor. Am I going to do that? Am I going to do that person a favor? Because if I'm paying somebody a lot of money that I'm not going to see a return on, because I think, I'm not going to get views on it, or I'm not going to make my money back in ticket sales or whatever. But I feel like this person, I got somebody I really want to see work this guy, right? So I'm like, okay, one time I brought the Scum in and, paying for both of them, you're not going to see your return in ticket sales, obviously, and you're not going to see your return in the amount of views you're going to get for the match. But I put him up against Money, Power, and Respect, Marco and Fab, and it was good. It was a good experience for him, but then those guys are gone. It's like at the time, I didn't have the unwanted. I had Christian and Evan with the most wanted. So I'm like, well, maybe I should have put him against my own guys instead of the guys I had the belts on that I was using from a different company. It was like I just put we had the Prospect Cup, and I put the cup on someone that I thought we both talked about him too. We talked about the kid and was like, yeah, I think he's got a lot of talent. And then I found out that he's not wrestling anymore. So when you do things, you have to look further. And in that cup, I was looking further, but I didn't have the right idea, because Rick even said you should have put it on this kid immediately in the locker room. And I'm like, nah, you're right, man. I fucked up. But I also look at it like this, right? Like there's guys that, and I could see if you were running your own company and building your own talent, but there's so many guys that are like, this might be my last year of wrestling, or I'm coming to an end, and they get in the gym and they stay in shape and they go everywhere, right? Like they throw everything they got at this last year, and that's cool. The no knock on anybody. Do what you do and makes you happy. But it's like if you're not trying to get somewhere off of this or trying to build something off of this in your last run, man, I'm not gonna travel all over the place and put in all that work and bang up my body, and travel time's the worst too. So I'm not gonna beat up my back and my tailbone and neck and shit sitting in a car or an airplane traveling around to go, man, I just want to give it one good last hoorah. Because it's like, I feel like we talk about it all the time. We've only got so many bumps in our body, right? I can still do the headstand moonsault. I can still do the backflip. There's a chance that maybe I land on my leg wrong and that I'm older and I snap my leg in half. But that's something I did back in the day. People know I did that. There's footage of that. And I'm totally fine leaving that back there and moving my career along somewhere else, because it's not about me anymore. It's about this young talent. And I was talking about how good of a coach and promoter I was. In reality, only giving 50% to this shit, but how bad of a mentor I was. Like I was taking young talent, young impressionable talent, and I was sneaking them into the bar and going to barbecues and getting drunk with them and doing stuff like this, which you go, fuck, I didn't create a fucking well-rounded superstar here. I created a fucking drunk. You know what I mean? It's like, did I create a drunk, a drug addict, or what did I do to this person? But now I'm able to help in the right way with the right people at my age. Like, I'm not going anywhere. Maybe a hope and a Hail Mary, hope and a prayer. Someone sees me. Maybe Jacob Fatu says, hey, that guy's great, man. You should bring him in. He's a smart guy. Or maybe someone says something like that. Or maybe the company gets big enough and they go, bring Zack in and have him train some guys. Maybe that happens for me in my career, but I'm not going anywhere. So my legacy that I have to leave on what I'm doing, and that's a big stretch of a word. My legacy is within my business and my company. It's here. It's helping you. It's helping Ugly. It's working alongside Oliver John. It's going to these other companies if they'll allow me to come in and help out and give some criticism, because that's what I got to offer the business. So I hope I answered that question. I felt like I extended different ways, but yeah, it's called a favor, man. That's my thought on it. Is like, if you just came back to wrestling and at your age and everything, and you were like, man, I really want to work on your show, but I need to get paid this. And I'd be like, all right, we're buddies, so I'll pay you what you want. And I know I'm not getting the return on it. So yeah, there's nothing wrong with doing somebody a favor.
Absolutely, man. Well, and obviously, this podcast and kind of what we've been doing from a training standpoint has really been all about trying to give to that next generation and get them prepared. I don't know how many times I've told someone, I'm too old to make it at this point. So my contribution now is trying to help other people and kind of show them the way, right? I feel like I've had my fair share of opportunities, whether those have been, pissed away or turned down or whatever, over, the past 20 something years. I feel like I have a good idea of what it takes to make it, and the things that you need to do. And, all the things that we talk about are right in the mix, right? You want to look like a pro wrestler, get in the gym, make sure you're getting your repetitions, going to a training school, doing all those things, be open for constructive criticism, don't be thin-skinned, have thick skin, and understand that, in most cases, people are giving you criticism because they want you to get better, not because they want to tear you down. So, you know, having those things, and obviously, you know, you talked about from the beginning of this podcast just today about really betting on yourself. And you see a lot of guys, you know, in our circuit. I think about Nick Nitrain is the first guy that kind of pops into my head. But, you know, betting on himself, he's getting out there, he's going to different promotions in an effort to learn from different guys. You know, what is this person doing? How are they becoming successful? How can I tie that into what I'm doing? What can I change? I don't remember who he told him to you know, get in shape or whatever, that he really took to heart. And you know, it's those things like that we're hoping that we can kind of convey to that next generation of pro wrestlers.
Tommy Dreamer, remember?
Oh, okay, sure.
Dreamer told him that.
Ironically, right, the guy that's in super fantastic shape. But obviously that's from a point, that's from a guy that's you know, been talent relations, right? The guy that's calling people up and trying to get them signed and things like that. So you know, a guy that knows what it takes to get there, and he's just, again, passing on that information. It's very much the do as I say, not as I do type of mentality. But you know, that's our goal, is to try to, you know, get out there and you know, and help guys in the ring, help guys on the mic, on the stick, right? You think we should grab the stick? Should we grab the stick?
Well, that's Ugly was a class, right? And I would look over at him and ask him what he thought, and he would give, you know, his opinion on a lot of stuff. And it was great because he sees it. You know what I mean? Like he can look at something and go, that ain't it. It needs this. And that's the experience. It's not, I'm a super detailed guy, right? I'm really detailed, and that's my bag of tricks. I got it from the guys that I learned from, man. I was very detail oriented. I was always into detailed wrestling. I want this shit to look the most believable it can. Not everybody wants it to look that way, and that's totally fine. We can't have a bunch of Oliver Johns or Zack Reebs attempt that, whatever. You can't have those guys, everybody like that on a card, or it looks the same. So I always, when I show something, it's, you know, that's what I love about Jesse Garcia, is I'll show him something the way I want to do in the movement where I want it to be, and he always does it exactly on point, but it's his own. It's different. Where I do something, he'll do the same thing, but he'll leave my motion out of it, and it's the same control, the same everything. So it's really cool to see these guys make it their own, right? Make it their own. But I mean, that's it. Is like, Ugly can see it and then know what it needs to look like. And that's the best coach. And this guy coached football and coached all his kids. Like, he's a coach. I'm a coach. You're a coach. Manny Roa's a coach. Like, all these people we talk about, Arsonist, he's a good coach. Wrestling trainers need to be good coaches. It don't always mean they need to be the best wrestler, you know, because there's so much different stuff that goes into it. A leader, a coach, is someone who's also going to motivate the guys. Hey, quit fucking off. Get back to work. Guys over there, keep it down. Do you know that it's a good coach, man? So we get into this business and we see all these guys as we're coming up on it right here. But there's just, you're talking about Nick Nitrain, right? He was already getting in shape. But when we were down there in Urington, he told us that story. He said, I was on a show with Tommy Dreamer, and he said this to me. And then he showed us his food, and he's like, I already lost this weight and I was getting in great shape. But once Tommy said that to me, that's when I really got serious about the diet. And now he's checking his macros and all this stuff, man, which is much needed. So it's great to see somebody take it 100% serious, because you have to. 5 minutes remaining in this podcast. And that's where I was going with the star power and making some money in wrestling, right? Is if you got star power, you don't have to be as good at wrestling. Your body's already in shape. You know what I mean? Like, you're chasing so many people, putting up a graphic that says available for bookings, now accepting bookings. That's not star power. That's not you need me power right there. Trust me, guys. If you work out, you eat right, you train hard, and you just keep going around and making the right connections, and you're want to learn and you're knowledgeable, the right people are going to see you and you're going to start getting work. I mean, that's just the way it is, man. That's how it happens. Everyone's like, just keep showing up. I mean, 100%, just show up and be prepared. You're going to fail. But if you don't show up, if you don't put in 100% into what you're doing in all these aspects, here's the problem with wrestling. We got to be professional public speakers. We got to be professional nutritionalists. We got to be professional bodybuilders. We got to be professional wrestlers. And we got to be professional actors. You know what I mean? Here's the fucking problem. Here's those 5 qualities I just mentioned. 4 of them, if you do the speaking, the acting, the nutrition, and the bodybuilding all individually, all will realistically make you more money and a better career than wrestling. We have this fucked up task for no money to have to be okay at all 5 of these things. And if we're great at 3 or 4 of them, we're a star in professional wrestling, man. So it's a tough gig to get into.
It is indeed, man. Oh, put it in a twist, bud.
Well, it is, right?
To hear it.
Fucking, how many times have you been just miserable in life, but you had a nice flat stomach with the 6-pack? That's miserable.
Right.
It's not fun. Like a real 6-pack, not like I'm an anorexic skinny fuck that can't put on.
The perfect example of that is Adam and I were, we had done a bodybuilding show together, and I remember that he was getting ready for another one, and he was talking about kind of the breaking point was he had his meal prep done, and his son or his daughter wanted something off of his plate, and he's like, no, you can't have it. It's already calculated or whatever. And he's like, what a bullshit thing that I have to do this bodybuilding thing. I can't share my food with my kids. It's like, what am I doing? Like, what
calculated?
It's not, this isn't worth it, man. If I can't sit down to a meal with my kids and share what I'm eating, this isn't worth it. So, I mean, that's definitely the, everything, put together in one, like the overview of what it's like, man, to try to be in fantastic shape and counting calories and all that stuff. It's like, it is, I don't know how like the Brian Cages and the Hammerstones and all these guys, I don't know how they do that, man, especially when they're traveling and all that stuff, man.
There's other proteins and punches that go into stuff like that. But yeah, like if I got to see another photo of Brian's abs, man, I'm gonna call him up and just be like, oh man, fucking I got nice abs, baby. But I mean, that's it, and that makes him happy. You know what I mean? He works really hard on his body, but you got to look at those things and go, what is worth it to you? You know what I mean? Fucking Patty Pimblett, fucking twice a year when he fights, when he goes through training, gets a 6-pack, and then he's fucking slamming down a whole pizza in the press conference, and you see him 2 weeks later, he's at a pub and his face is round as shit. They're like, that's not good on his heart. And it's like, whatever, man. Like, we're living where we're living. We're gonna We're gonna go an extra. We're gonna go an extra, just 5 today. We're gonna click out at 5 because that's one thing. You were talking about the diet, right? And I was asking you about the flat abs, and it's funny that you said that. Adam's like, I calculated this in, my loving child. You can't take a bite of my baby corn, but it just goes back to what I was trying to say, and we'll close it out here pretty soon. But you have to figure out, is this worth it? Because here's the best advice I'm going to give somebody. If you want something bad enough and you love it, and you just love it, you're going to have to give up a lot of things that you also love, but you don't love as much. Because I love Chinese food. I love 20 honey barbecue wings from Kentucky Fried Chicken. Guilty as charged over here, right? Like, I love them, man. I could eat 100 of them and just sit there in my own filth and misery with barbecue sauce on my face. But I can't do that, man, because I don't want to, I've had some embarrassing moments here recently. It's like, you asked me, and we'll close it out here. You asked me last show, you're like, do I wear the shirt or do I not wear the shirt? And I said, what would the Ballard brothers say? And the Ballard brothers would say, do you plan on getting in better shape? And the answer obviously would have to be yes, because you're asking this question. So you must think that you're getting in better shape already. And they go, good, then go out there with no shirt on. So as the audience starts to see you as you get in better shape, they can appreciate the work that you're putting in. You got anything to close us out here, Tal Paul?
Oh no, just you got your show coming up this weekend. So this is coming out on Friday. So it will be tomorrow. Last Man Standing. Lots of big stuff going on there. And then the following weekend, we got the showdown at Boomtown.
I'm ready for Boomtown.
Yeah.
Got my gambling hand ready.
Got your gambling hand ready. I like it. Yeah.
Yeah. You know what, real quick, what I'm calling him out on it. It was like, I lost when I was gambling and Boyce was sitting right there. And then Boyce walked away and came back up to me and he's like, yeah, you left that machine too early. And he's like, I'm like, well, how much did you win? He's like, oh yeah, I won. And he showed me what he won. And I still think that's about what he pulled out to start gambling out of the ATM. You know what I mean? So to all you people out there that are trying to make it seem like you're just so good at gambling on lucky slot machines. For Zack Primetime Reeb and the Wrecking Ball, Paul Isadora, hit that subscribe button. We're stuck at that 300 marker, and I'm not really liking it, guys. I'm not really liking it. And as we end this by saying going over, I want to make the face of our good friend Josh Edlow when I was watching a short from his podcast, and Jake Roberts was talking about his dad being a pedophile, and we'll end it with Mr. Edlow's face listening to the pedophile story. Fuck. We're going over.